Let's be honest, dating apps suck. They drain your energy and they cause you to engage in what seem to be like low vibrational interactions for the most part. When was the last time that a dating app gave you a real, legitimate, positive relationship interaction? Does it not seem like most people on there are just kind of in this desperate state of being, or they're there just to make jokes? If you're serious about creating a loving relationship in your life, dating apps are the absolute last place that you want to go. And so in this video, I'm going to show you a process that I use to consistently create awesome interactions and potentially, really positive, loving relationships that last long term. What's going on, guys? It's Zach back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about my process for creating loving relationships that's worked for me pretty much every single time since I learned about this process. Now, just to give you some background information, I discovered this process I think mid 2018, maybe 2019. I think it was actually mid 2019. What had happened was I had been in a relationship with a woman for about 5 years on and off, and it was a really positive relationship that kind of crashed and burned. And I spent a lot of time ruining the end. I tried to manifest her back. I tried all sorts of different kinds of things that none of them ended up working for me. Now, I have a video earlier on my channel that talks about why I was not able to manifest this particular person back at the time, and I might go into it a little bit more in depth in another video, but just for the purpose of this video, I want to kind of keep it into a nutshell, and we're just going to leave it at that. It didn't work, right? Things ended, and I was in a rough patch, right? I spent a lot of time overcoming my limiting beliefs. I spent a lot of time going within and healing myself as far as the traumas, the expectations that I had that were not necessarily super healthy, and ultimately I ended up finding myself in a position where I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready for a new relationship, right? I think I'm ready to bring someone new into my space. First things first, what did I do? Of course, I downloaded Tinder, I downloaded Bumble, and I got to swiping. So I started talking to a lot of different girls, especially on Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram as it is, and so I just tend to have a lot of conversations, and when I would see girls that I thought were attractive, I would send them messages and just try to talk to them a little bit. I connected with some super cool people. I am not gonna fade. And so I had some cool conversations. I had some things that I really wanted to see them progress and move forward, but I didn't feel like it was really working out right. I felt like I was putting too much effort in. I felt like the other person didn't have interest, or I felt like, vice versa. I just ended up not really being interested in the person, and it would fizzle out. To kind of give you an overarching definition of the feeling, it was like a feeling of desperation, right? It was a feeling that I was going out and putting in a lot of effort and not really seeing any results, and I felt like I was kind of struggling against the external world, right? There were relationships that I did have that I would kind of force them a little bit more, like I would sacrifice a lot of how I really felt and say, even though I don't feel so good about this, I'm going to push through this and still continue to engage in this relationship because there are things that I want out of it, right? The engagement, be that intellectual, be that sexual, being just that feeling of being around a person and having them kind of value you, right? All of these very low bar qualifications that were being reached, I felt like this is good enough. I'm going to kind of suffer through this and keep pushing. Now, this is the time when I was really getting serious about my spiritual journey. And so I could very clearly see that this process of existing and interacting was not at all in alignment with the best version of myself, right? And I could feel that. Still, though, I kind of rejected it for a while and was like, no, it doesn't really matter. It's all about this end result of, creating this relationship. And so I'm going to do what it takes to make this happen. Now, I think this is a great attitude to have in a lot of areas of life, right? Something like building up a business, something like, revamping your finances or reaching that next level in your career. I think that attitude of drive and just going out and getting it is really, really positive and can be very, very beneficial in some instances. However, when it comes to creating a relationship, a brand new relationship, I think very seldom is fighting against yourself the best way to go, right? I'm not even saying that fighting against yourself in those other areas is the best way to go, but in this area, particularly struggle and pushing and using pressure is very seldom the way that is going to benefit you when it comes to creating a relationship with another individual person. So flashback to the summer of 2019, and I had about had enough. I had been in close contact with this one girl that I really enjoyed her company. I really enjoyed talking with her and having these kinds of discussions with her, but it ended up going nowhere. She was moving to San Diego and joining the military. I lived in Baltimore, and we hadn't really established enough of a relationship at that time to, make something happen with it. And so she ended up leaving, and I think just her mindset was in this place of, I'm joining the military, I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling, I'm going to be meeting a lot of people, and so why would I, tie myself down to this one person just because it's been kind of okay? And this isn't to say that it was mind-blowingly, magical, this relationship. It was just kind of a pretty good conversation on a regular basis, and that was about it. And so when I learned about that, things kind of, fizzled out for us. But I continued with my journey. And it was funny because right around the time that I kind of decided, you know what, I'm just going to let this woman go. I'm going to let her do her thing and, you know, live her life. And I'm not going to try to push and push and push. What happened was I came across this video by Bob Proctor. Now, I have mixed feelings about Bob Proctor. I think he's a great guy as far as a lot of the advice he gives, but I do think a lot of his teaching is a way too surface. I think a lot of it is just too simple, and people need more help in you know, making this stuff something that you can really apply, but that's beside the point. He had a video about how to manifest the ideal lover, or really the ideal any kind of person for any kind of situation, right? And what his process was you basically just draw a circle. You draw a circle and you say, this is the person, something inside. At that time, I wrote the A1BB. And then you draw a bunch of lines and you write characteristics on all those things, right? You craft the ideal person. Maybe you are really serious about looks, right? Maybe looks is something that's really serious for you right now. You want to, you know, manifest a person of a specific body type, specific hair color, eye color, whatever. I personally think that kind of stuff is a little bit surface and you should go a lot deeper, and I will tell you why in a minute, but that's the concept, right? And then you talk about things like intellect, things like, you know, morality, things like their hobbies, their desires, their goals, right? Their comforts, all of these kinds of things. Like, what would be the perfect person for you? Sense of humor, whatever it is. Write down all these characteristics, right? And then get deep with it. And so what I did was just that. I drew this circle, I wrote all these qualities that I wanted to see in a person, and then I started imagining them, right? And this is what Bob says in his video. He says, imagine them doing everything with you. And so I imagined them, you know, walking with me. I imagined them lying down next to me when I would go to bed, right? In the gym, we'd be working out together in mind. In the kitchen, we'd be cooking together in mind, right? And the more that I did this, the more natural it started to feel, the more I started to move out of that place of like fairies and magic, kind of, you know, that butterflies in your stomach feeling. When you're really first getting into manifesting, that's usually the main feeling that you feel, right? You imagine yourself in that brand new car with all this money, with your, you know, your perfect spouse, and it's a very like butterflies and magical feeling, right? But what I kind of realized was with anything that I had successfully manifested in the past, it was because I felt very normal doing it, right? I felt very natural in that state of being. And so the same thing was what I was shooting for with this specific person, or it was, you know, a very general person at that point, right? So I was imagining myself doing all these things with this character of an individual. And not 2 months later, I receive a direct message from a person, right? And keep in mind, like I said, I was feeling these things on a pretty regular basis, very, very naturally. And so I was kind of naturally able to let it go, right? Let's follow the process here. I was very intentional with what I wanted, right? And then it became a natural state of vibration. And I was able to kind of release from the need to have it, right? I deleted the dating apps, right? I stopped pursuing women that I knew in person that I just was like okay with, right? Like I kind of had like an okay relationship. I thought they were attractive or like something or other, but there were a lot of things missing that I knew I would never remain with that person long term. And so I completely cut those kinds of interactions off. I didn't necessarily ghost them or anything. I just, I stopped expressing interest in hanging out. I stopped, more than anything, I stopped expressing interest in hooking up. But then, so flashback, right? This is 2019, about I think July or August, that I set this intention, right? That I learned this process, I set this intention, I started imagining, and I let the imagining become a very natural part of my life. Well, in October of that year, right? So about 2 months later, I get a DM on Twitter from a girl, and we start having, conversations on a regular basis. There's a lot of really positive energy being cultivated, and it's clear that we both really like each other, right? We both jive together quite a lot. And I realized, like, wow, this girl meets all these qualifications that I set, right? Physically, she looks exactly like this person, right? All these other qualifications, financially independent, right? Very, very forthcoming in her activism, her ethical standpoints, I guess. Veganism is really important to me. That's the bottom line. And so all these other kinds of things, she was involved in a lot of very powerful social justice movements, but not at a surface level. I mean, she was a very active activist. And so I realized, like, wow, this is the person. And we ended up forming a relationship. She came and lived with me for a little under a month here in Maryland. I went and lived with her for about the same time. I'm in California about a month later. And things ended up going really bad. That's right. So things ended up going very poorly for a lot of reasons. Like my own personal insecurity, I do believe that the universe comes from within, and so I watched as my insecurities were manifesting in that relationship. There became a lot of tension, and we ended up separating. Perhaps that's an analysis for another day. But the bottom line is this, you guys: it worked to the T, right? It worked out exactly. And so you could say, oh, wow, coincidence, really interesting, Zach, but that's not a long-term, evidence-based approach to making this kind of thing happen. Sure, perhaps not. So it may or may not be helpful to give you yet another piece of anecdotal evidence, which is me following that process once again a few months ago. So very similar to the last person, I spent a huge amount of time worrying about that girl, right? So after we broke up, there was kind of this roller coaster of getting back together and then breaking up again, having really good communication, having terrible communication. And it got to the point where eventually I was like, you know what, I'm not really interested in keeping this relationship going in its current form. She and I both have a lot of things to work out, and you could argue, well, with the practice of manifestation, you can make anything happen. You can quite literally imagine another person going through a process that brings them to a place of stability and balance, and likewise for you. And once again, you can have this magical relationship because you're both in that position. It can be even better next time. Well, I am a person that understands the nuances of the law, right? I know that it is not quite as easy as people want to make it out to be, and we have, our individual characteristics and our individual approaches that have to be factored in, and I understand my own approach. That's why I believe that usually I'm very successful in relationships, because I'm good at analyzing myself and analyzing the situation and asking myself, what am I really willing to contribute as far as my mental energy to this? And I realized that I wasn't in the place where I could mentally craft this brand new being that she was able to show up with, right? She, having overcome her trauma, having looked at men in a new light as though they weren't all, people that are out to get her, no matter how much they supported her, right? And I'm not going to give you too much detail about her story because I do care about her. She is a person that's close in my life, and I do want to respect her privacy and respect her, issues that she has to work through, right? But likewise for me, I realized that I was still holding on to a lot of baggage from days, years and years and years ago that, relationships had caused me to think of myself in a certain way and have certain expectations for the ways that I showed up, right? And so I realized that I had to do a lot of healing in this way. And so one of the things that I did was essentially manifest another person to help me through this process. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, this is a little bit selfish, and I really want you guys to take this with a grain of salt, because I don't think everybody should use this approach. I don't necessarily think it's the healthiest approach, even for me. But my intention with sharing this information with you is so that you can look at your own situation and ask yourself if maybe this is something you can apply, especially for those of you guys that have been trying to manifest a specific person for a long time. It is an extremely draining process. It can be, right? And if it is a draining process, you're doing it wrong. And so this is something that might be able to help you understand this process a little bit better, right? We all know that the reason we cannot manifest our specific person is because we are holding on to expectations. We have baggage that is associated with that relationship that we simply cannot overcome in our present state of being, right? So I realized this, right? I knew that I had been in this relationship with somebody in the past that I then tried to manifest for about a year and a half with, success, struggle, right? Success, struggle. You're all going to experience successes when you're trying to manifest the person, right? But what's going to happen is your own fears, doubts, and insecurities are going to become limiting factors, and they're going to get in the way, and they're going to cause you to slip up. Well, I was slipping up constantly. I was constantly in a place of forcing all of my visualizations, all of my affirmations. Every single thing was from a place of force rather than a place of trust, right? And so what I knew was always kind of beneficial for me was having another person that I could receive attention from and I could receive love from, right? And so, again, this is why I say this is not the healthiest thing, because how is that real healing, right? To just get the attention that you desire on the surface from another person, that's not real healing. But what it can do is effectively distract you. And if you understand the mechanics of your mind and the mechanics of the universe, it can be very, very effective to have that from another person that will ultimately help you to find this place of stability, so that maybe you can go back to manifesting your old person, or maybe it'll help you realize that, hey, there are infinite people in the world, right? There's infinite beings in this universe that can provide me what it is that I want to get from a partner, right? If that's what you want, if a loving, intimate relationship is your ultimate goal, you'll realize that all of these characteristics that this person met, a lot of people can meet those. And I know that's a sad realization for a lot of people because they really do believe that this person's the one. I'm the wrong person to talk to if that's what you really think, guys. I think that they're literally, millions of fish in the sea that will be magnificent partners for you, right? And all you have to do is allow that concept. But whatever you want to do, you can use this technique to find that stability, and maybe you want to go back to your old person. That's fine. I have no qualms either way. I think that nobody knows what you need except for you. And the universe speaks through the language of imagination, and what your imagination is telling you, that is what your higher self is leading you toward in the moment. And so allow that. Just allow that. Don't resist it. Let it flow in all of its good and all of its bad. Just watch it as it happens. And the more comfortable you become, the more naturally things will start to feel for you, right? They'll feel more positive just in general. The journey, the result, everything. So all this being said, what did I do? Well, about 2-3 months ago, I decided to do the same process again. I drew my circle. I said, this is the person that I want. And then I drew all of these qualifications, right? Same kind of thing. What was the real key, I think, was the imagining. So I imagined them with me. I imagined them standing next to me. I imagined them, cooking with me, sleeping with me, going outside and going for walks together. All of these kinds of things, like all of the things that I just do on my own, that I eventually want my, significant other to do with me, right? Have a life that we're just kind of, partners like that. That's what I imagined. And so, once again, the same process, on paper than the imagining, and it worked even faster this time, right? So even faster, I ended up having this person shoot me a DM on social media, and we started talking, and I realized, like, physically she hit the exact qualifications. All of these other qualifications, she hit them exactly. Vegan, into vehicle sports, which is a really, really weird one, right? Financially independent, right? Financial growth minded, right? All of these different kinds of qualifications that I had were immediately met. And we could go into detail, and I could show you the exact list, and then I could show you the exact person. You'd be like, holy shit, man, that's crazy. But it's less crazy to me now, because I realize that by being very intentional and following the laws of manifestation as they are laid out in their most natural form, right, without all of this excessive convolution that is put on it by YouTubers, by other kinds of people, all I did was set my intention, imagine it and feel it as natural, and then let go. Release the importance. Enjoy my life in the present moment, right? Work on the things that I'm currently working on. Value myself. Realize that I'm the prize, and that this entire reality is mine to do as I please with, right? By doing that, by following this process, boom, I manifested another person. What becomes of it? Who knows? I'm enjoying it right now, and I think she's enjoying it too, and we'll figure it out. But the ultimate point is this, you guys. When we have this excessive emotional need for things to be a certain way, right? We're gripping to the situation. There is no movement that can happen, right? We cannot allow things to grow and change as they're meant to on their own, right? And so by using this process, number one, if this is something you're trying to do right now, if you're trying to welcome a loving relationship into your life, and you don't necessarily have a specific individual that needs to be, you just have these qualifications like, hey, they need to be supportive, they need to be attractive, they need to be somebody that, cares about, their goals in life, and they have intentions and all this stuff. Whatever it is for you, if you're trying to manifest a person like that, use this process. Draw your circle, draw the qualifications, and then start to feel it as it is, and then release. Let go of the need for things to be. Don't do this process and then immediately, 2 days later, it didn't work, and you re-download Bumble, you re-download Tinder, and you're swiping all day, right? That's not how this works, you guys. It's about trust. It's about feeling good in the present moment. And so what are some skills that you can, use to get even better with this? Well, practice the basics, meditation, right? Practice, being conscious in your dreams, practice lucid dreaming, practice astral projection, all these kinds of things that will get you really in tune with energy. I think that generally people in the manifestation community don't really understand energy. They think that they understand the laws of the universe, but they've never manifested anything, right? They've never deliberately created something without the use of force, right? They've never felt that sense of exiting this physical body and understanding what the overall energetic connection to all things is. Do that. Spend your time doing this stuff, you guys, because this will make the process for you so much easier. I think the difference between somebody that is manifesting on a regular basis and somebody that is not is just they still are very much attached to this reality. They don't understand that there are layers to this reality. This reality is a mirror of your energetic self. And by tapping into that energy and first deciding what it is that you want and becoming very intentional with that, and then not reacting to the external world, boom, you can manifest all day long, baby. You can make whatever you want happen. Sort of a long video, but I wanted to just throw this at you guys because I know a lot of you guys are trying to manifest specific people, and so maybe using this process of bringing a new person into your life that could, ease out your feeling a little bit and kind of give you some of that energy that you need. I don't necessarily think that's the best way to go about things, but it is a way, and it can be extremely effective. And so if you need to do this process, go ahead and do it. If you're just doing this process to bring in that special someone for the first time, amazing. But realize, guys, overall, the bottom line, be intentional, really be intentional about what you want. Feel it as real, feel it as natural, and then let it go. Be cool, feel good, love life. There's so many things to manifest, so many things to work on. Don't bog yourself down by stressing over just one of them. How does that make any sense, you guys? Without further ado, I hope this video was helpful. Subscribe to my channel, hit that little notification bell so you know my videos come out. Like this video, share it with anybody that you think might be interested. I don't know, drop a comment if you want me to answer any questions or shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you guys. And namaste, much love. I'll talk to you guys later. Shh.